Hey, my name's Paul Maxwell. Today I'm going to talk about how to build habits that actually reach your goals because there's a common cycle. It's a vicious cycle where people set goals, try to implement behaviors which achieve those goals and fail and give up. And they get in this loop and they forget that they even tried. And then they have some pain point in their life. Oh, I'm out of shape. I'm not making enough money. Right. And they try to create these strategies and they try to combine willpower with intelligence and effort with insight and build these systems that are, okay, I'm going to achieve this goal. I'm going to get a better job. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get a six pack. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell you across my years as a business consultant now, and then before that, my years as a certified personal trainer and a fitness coach, I can tell you exactly the method to build a habit that actually produces the goals that you are wanting to achieve. And it's not that complicated, but you have to kind of operate with some of these principles in mind. Start with a concept, which is called the Nassim pyramid. Okay. So the Nassim pyramid. So the Nassim pyramid was what we used to actually get people in shape, where we would actually have four components that would all build on each other. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And the Nassim pyramid basically had this. At the base, you have stability. Okay. So stability, what does this mean? It means that you don't just start putting somebody, if you have somebody that has a fitness goal and they want to get in shape and they're really out of shape, you don't just start throwing them under a 300-pound squat rack and saying, okay, go, keep trying this until you succeed. That's just not how it works. Okay. You have to start with some foundations first, and there's a specific progression that you take people through. Okay. So in this Nassim pyramid, you have stability at the base. So what does that mean? That means I have to be able to, along a specific axis of movement, perform a motion. And if I can perform that motion repeatedly with stability, without too much variation, without too much shaking, without too much stress or strain or struggle, then I have achieved stability. Okay. And there's a specific threshold here where on its own axis, right, I have, let's say, stability and I have time. Okay. And overall, the mean is that if my micro goal is to achieve stability here, I have achieved stability, right? And then on top of that, once I can actually perform the motion with stability, without too much variation, without too much shaking, right? That means the tendons, the smaller muscles, the mind-muscle connection, the various other aspects of performing the motion have been solidified and cemented so that I feel a sense of confidence performing the motion. Next, I achieve endurance. Okay. So here we have stability, which is that I can do it consistently. Here, it's that I can perform it with volume. Okay. I can perform it over a long period of time. I can not only do it once in a stable manner, I can do it 100 times in a stable manner. And then after that, we have strength. Okay. And here we're talking about adding load. I can not only do it, let's say 20 times in a stable manner, but I can do it 20 times with an increased load. I can actually increase the intensity. Okay. Here's where we introduce intensity. All right. And then finally, on top of this, we have power. And power is force production. Okay. This is an actual skill. This is where we start increasing load. Okay. And this is where we actually start setting meaningful goals to increase our capability or to really maximize, right? So here, we're talking about maximizing. And here, we're talking about activating. So we want to move up the chain from stability to endurance to strength to power, from activate to maximize. Okay. This takes time. It takes time for every single different motion. When you see people in the gym and they're standing with one foot on a little half of a bouncy ball and they're holding something out and they're like not balancing, and you're thinking to yourself, why are they doing that? That doesn't look like they're getting in good shape at all. The reason is that over the long term, they're achieving stability. So they're doing certain things that don't look productive from a fitness point of view. You're not exactly sure how this produces the ultimate goal, but this is part of the plan of getting to a place where you can achieve a goal. And sometimes in order to set the foundation for achieving a goal that you want, you have to do some thankless work in order to get to the place where you have sufficient competence, stability, and volume and load to be able to actually apply the effort that you need to apply to the direct behaviors, which will directly contribute to your overall goal. Okay. So that's the Nassim pyramid, again, is stability to endurance to strength to power, right? Then we go from there and we go into another concept, okay? And this is what I call the checklist method. This is actually one of my favorite ideas right now. And basically the checklist method, and I'm going to dig into this more in a second. Checklist method is made up of 6 components where this is how you actually achieve your goal. Because right now you're saying, oh, I want to start this routine. I want to have this habit in my life. We all know there's this relationship between habits and goals, right? So a goal is a specific outcome I want. And very often the most meaningful goals in life require consistency, effort, and strategy applied over time, right? So I want to take inspired strategic action consistently over time, okay? So in order to achieve that, we have to know, number 1, the goal, okay? This is clarity, okay? Number 2, the strategy, okay? This is how. And then 3, we have to have tracking clarity. So this is data capture. So whether you're trying to lose weight and you have to track your calories or log your actual weight or log your steps over time, you want to track all of your data and you need to have a specific place. This is a question of where. Where do I track this? Do I track this in HabitKit? Do I track this in a log? Do I track this in an Excel sheet? But it has to be tracked. This is an absolute blocker for most people. This is where most people fail on their goals, but it's not actually what we're talking about today. 4th is where we're talking about the actual checklist, okay? The checklist is a series of actions that can be taken by a specific person in a specific place, okay? And then you need to know, where is the checklist? Sometimes the checklist and the tracking list are the same. For example, when I log my workouts, I log it in the Strong app. And in the Strong app, that is also, it's where I log the amount of weight that I'm lifting in each of my sets, but it's also the checklist itself for the workout, okay? But you have to have a bigger checklist, which is, did I work out? And did I do these certain things, okay? Right. And so how do you activate that list? So I need to go to a place where I have this specific checklist. And then number 5 is we have a short, small timeline, okay? Now, this is huge. This is kind of the most important piece and what I want to focus on right now, because this short, small timeline gets into what we'll call the achievement curve. Okay, so I'm going to take a little micro excursus here, and we're going to call this the achievement curve. Now, the achievement curve is where you have something where you've got a goal up here, let's say, right? Here's my goal. Let's call this a goal of, I don't know, losing 20 pounds, right? You got your goal here. Now, you've got a couple aspects in terms of how you're going to achieve this goal, right? Now here you've got time, and up here you've got intensity, okay? So x equals time, y equals intensity, all right? Now we've got these various aspects of this here, where here in intensity, right? We have to, first of all, have patience. Okay, we're starting here. This is where we're starting when we want to build a habit. Here, we have to build patience, and we have to start in low intensity, where the purpose is to remove friction. Okay, the point of this zone here is to build reps. We want to build reps over time at a low intensity. And it's all about building consistency. The goal of this low intensity initial time frame, okay, is to build habit. Okay. So for example, I want to lose weight. And in order to do that, I have to have the fundamental habit of tracking calories. So that's what this period is about here. It's about tracking calories. So remember, you've got that picture of the person balancing on a bouncy ball at the gym and just shaking on the bouncy ball trying to achieve stability, right? That's them doing a diagnostic stability test. That's not even them working out. That's just the trainer analyzing what their actual stability is. Here, because why? Because the goal of them going to the gym is to have stability. Well, it's not the goal, but as part of the goal, it's a foundation for the goal. You're not going to achieve the goal without having that stability, right? Same here. The goal here for this initial phase, you might think, well, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to cut calories, and it's like you're putting the cart in front of the horse. In order to cut calories, you have to have the habit of tracking calories. And if you don't have the habit of tracking calories, first you need to build one habit at a time. One habit at a time. Okay. Huge. So here you're going to apply OHAT. So then after you have time and patience, and here you've got this box where you achieve habit, right? Then you can get to your reward, right? So here I'm going to do this. And then over time, now I can start adding effort, right? So now let's say I've got my tracking, which is achieved in this first quadrant. And then I've got my effort, right? Where I actually start applying intensity here, right? So now I want to increase load. And the goal here is skill, right? So I'm actually increasing this and effort. Okay. So now I'm actually increasing, and the reps that I'm building here are actually producing some kind of result. Let's say achieving a calorie deficit. Boom. And over time, I actually have this demand curve. And it also highlights for me two potential mistakes that I could make. One is starting too big, too fast. Okay. Too big, too fast. Don't live in this zone, in this early phase where it's early, right? Where time is young, right? You don't want to be too big, too fast. That is a huge mistake, because that's how you're going to burn out. You're going to crash out, and the habit's not going to be built, and you're going to give up here. Okay. You cannot start up here. The other one is too small for too long. And you're not going to see results here either, because you're never applying intensity. And that would be the equivalent of somebody doing the balancing ball exercise in the gym for an entire year and never actually challenging themselves, never actually pushing themselves to add volume, never adding load, never adding intensity, never adding any of that. Okay. So here, what we're doing is we're saying here we have, just to kind of get this going, here we have stability. That is what we achieve here, right? Then we achieve volume. And then here we achieve strength / load. And then once we're here, we can start achieving power. Okay. But it all comes down to stability as the foundation first. And this is how it works. One final piece that I want to add on to this, all of this for you, is this concept of, okay, so we have 5, short, small timeline. We can even say that 6, this is one habit at a time. And then 7, it's simple, which is it's kind of the same as OHAT, but keep it as simple as possible. Okay. You want to keep your goal small. The smaller you start, the smaller you start, the higher your chances of success. Okay. Because you are setting that goal and you're creating that habit. The point here is to use this phase, this box, this area as a foundation, as a jumping off point to build your habits. That is the entire purpose of this thing, is to use this as a jumping off point to build the rest of your habits. You want to use this as a platform on which to add, again, volume and then load and then intensity. Okay. It's all about going from activation to maximization. And in order to do that, you can't just jump here. You cannot shortcut this. It is not possible to shortcut it. So you want to keep it simple. Keep it as simple as possible. Don't say, oh, I'm going to start CrossFit and then I'm going to enter a high rocks competition and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, like just start the habit with a specific goal in mind and then know, for example, right? You want to say, okay, first of all, how do I achieve, right? Stability in the habit. What habit do I need to achieve stability in? 2, how do I add volume, right? 3, what do I do to add load? This is, right? This is intensity. And then 4, how do I build strength? Remember, this is endurance. This is strength, right? Not strength. Here, I want to build power. Okay. Whatever. Power. Okay. This is skill. This is where you actually push. Okay. And results and outcome. Okay. Outcome really starts to show itself here, kind of in this area. Okay. Outcome starts showing itself here, but you cannot have these things without these things. You cannot have load and you cannot have power without first having stability and without having volume. Okay. So this is the basic concept, the checklist method that I want to show you, which is kind of an application of that Nassim pyramid. I hope this was helpful for you if you're trying to build a routine, and let me know what you think. Let me know if this resonates with your experience. All right. Thanks.